Always almost like a momentous occasion when my friend Jeff O'Neill joins us on the television program. He was a terrific NHL player. He's an even better broadcaster, if I could say that. And from what I understand, a heck of a golfer as well. We'll get to the golf in a second, but first let's talk about that Brad Treliving presser that happened on Thursday, O-Dog. This is the quote. This is Pierre LeBrun's money quote from the presser. Here it is. Ready? There's some DNA that needs to change in our team. That's Brad Treliving on Thursday. When you hear that quote, Jeff, what immediately comes to mind?
I think basically, Jay, it's just a roundabout way of saying things have got to be different. I mean, we're creeping up on like 9 and 10 years of the same thing now. I thought the DNA could have changed a long time ago because, I mean, when you see the same results come crunch time, it's like what could be the harm in switching up the dynamic of the team? I do understand with money and salary cap, it's difficult. You just don't pull players off a tree and insert them in your lineup. There is some work that has to go into it, a lot of work, but I'm confident that Brad's going to do that and look into what changes he can possibly make. There's an opportunity, and I don't know what it's going to be because from people I talk to, I think there's a solid chance that John Tavares could be returning. But if he didn't, there would be a lot of money available to get pretty creative. And I think that, when people have mentioned Brad Treliving around the league, he's always a guy that's working the phones and talking to people and knowing what's out there. And this might be that opportunity for him to utilize that and do something different just to give the team a different look. In saying that, Jay, because the last 6 or 7 years of doing my job on SportsCenter and the hot zone, we call it after the games, it's been a lot of the same. It's still going to come down to, can Austin Matthews elevate like a Connor McDavid has? Can William Nylander get the job done come crunch time? Can they have solid goaltending? So a lot can be different, but we'll still return to the same topics come the end of the season when it does ultimately end. If it does end early, like it has in the past, can those guys get it done? Because as you're seeing with the teams that are advancing, like you look at the Florida Panthers, possibly the Edmonton Oilers, it's the usual suspect that get the job done for those guys. There's just something different about them that this time of year they elevate and they get to an emotional kind of commitment and desire to get things done, and they do it. So some things can be different, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to some of the same elements.
Jeff, I want to read you another quote, but first, let's talk about the fact that Brad Treliving was very complimentary of Mitch Marner on Thursday. He was also, however, Jeff, non-committal regarding whether or not Marner would be offered a contract. So based on how Marner has spoken since the season ended, and based on the fact that Treliving was non-committal about offering a contract, does it seem inevitable to you, Jeff, that this partnership will come to an end soon?
Well, first of all, being complimentary of Mitch Marner is an easy thing to do. He's one of the best players in the world. He's a 100-point guy. He's a Selke nominee. He plays in all situations, and there's no reason not to compliment Mitch Marner. And as far as Mitch Marner wanting to leave, I could understand that too. I don't live that far from him, and I've heard some stories just about what people in this city have attempted to do or wanted to do and even done. So for him, why would he want to put up with that? Because I think it's disgusting, to be quite honest with you. And that's a part of the change. When, as valuable as he is, he's been a part of a team, and it just so happens that he's the one whose contract is over. So that therefore offers the opportunity for change. And, if you're going to do that, Jay, you got to bring in some quality players, because he's a guy everybody talks about. They can't win with Mitch Marner or the style that these guys play. He's a massive part of why they get to the playoffs and why they get 100-point seasons and why they win the Atlantic. He's a massive factor in that. They just need to change what happens after that. And it just so happens that his contract's up, and there lies the opportunity to do something different.
Jeff, another notable quote from Treliving Thursday. Champions have the ability to be at their very best when it matters most. Do you see that as somewhat of a shot across the bow at Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, and Riley and their excellent regular seasons compared to their perhaps not so excellent postseasons?
I don't know where it was directed, Jay, but there's nothing could be more true about what needs to happen for athletes. It's like, I can remember years ago when Connor McDavid, they had some disappointments in the playoffs, whether it be in the bubble against Colorado. And there was one series against the LA Kings where it just seemed like he realized that this is not just about being skilled or people like us calling him the best player in the world. I think he had an understanding that that just wasn't good enough come playoff time. There's even more for him to give. And I think when you see your best players having the burning desire to win the Stanley Cup, I mean, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl talk about that all the time. It's like cup or bust, and that's all they're in it for. And I think for the guys in Toronto, and I don't know if this particular stage in the game you can have that change or have their focus go in that direction where that's all they concentrate on, being ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs and playing their best. I know McDavid and Draisaitl, they start skating 2 weeks after the season's over. They have captain skates in Edmonton where it's basically like, if you want to get on the program with us, we're starting at this time, so you better show up. So it's just one of those things where you got to have those guys dialed in and ready and committed and have that burning desire to win every night.
Okay, so I'm going to read you a list of pending unrestricted free agents, Jeff. And
you sure you want to do that? Because I'm probably going to shake my head and say no to a lot of it.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. That's part of the fun. I want to throw some names out, and assuming mutual interest, assuming necessary cap space, which of these guys would you be interested if you're Brad Treliving for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Sam Bennett.
Yeah, that's one guy that I would be interested in, but I think that he's going to re-sign with the Florida Panthers because when you have a player like that, it's going to be the same as the Reinhart situation. The season's going to end. They're going to be like, this is what we have to offer you, and it's more than fair. Do you want to stay and be a Florida Panther on a team that continuously goes to the Stanley Cup final? And he's going to say, yes, I want to stay. That's how I see that scenario playing out.
Do you see that same scenario playing out with Aaron Ekblad in Florida?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I could possibly, with the addition of Seth Jones, maybe that situation could be different. Is one of the two parties willing to walk if Aaron wants to hit a home run and play somewhere else? But in the same situation, I cannot see the player or the organization wanting to part from the player. So I don't know how they make all that work because it comes to a point where sooner or later you got to cut bait with somebody.
Yep.
And you got to make some change and fill the voids. But
yep.
Obviously, those two players would be welcome. I'd love to have them in Toronto to watch them on a regular basis. But I'm sure the Florida Panthers are saying, we've got to keep these guys in the fold.
Here's a player and listen, Jets fans won't be happy, but let's just throw this out there. Nikolai Ehlers has always intrigued me as a potential player on this team.
I think there's enough skill to go around, to be quite honest with you. I think that they're just looking for something different. It's just
right.
like Sam Bennett and Verhaeghe and Reinhart. They're not all ultra skill. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
There's enough ultra skill there. It's like they need to find guys that find a way to get it done. And I think it's no disrespect to Ehlers. He's a wonderfully talented player. But I think there's a difference with just finding guys that can just find a way to get it done. I think Nazem Kadri is a guy like that. He finds a way to get it done. He's obviously very skilled, but he's kind of a dog come playoff time. Very valuable part to Colorado's cup run.
I know you guys were chatting about Nazem Kadri is a guy you'd love to see return to the fold in Toronto. Maybe a year ago, I feel like that was a totally attainable goal probably. But at this point, if you're Craig Conroy and the way your team did this year, you probably want to hold on to Nazem Kadri. And he seems pretty happy there, too.
Yeah, he does. I mean, those are situations. It just seems like we're playing, people at where we work, they have all these pipe dreams and fake scenarios and stupid trade proposals that you and I both have to listen to all the time. And that seems like one of them. But who knows? And I think that, when you look at changing the dynamic of the team, Jay, trades could be a very possible avenue to do that, as opposed, like people
Yep.
are just looking at free agency saying, oh, look at this. There's just not much there. Or it's not the greatest crop this year. Wait till next year. I mentioned it earlier about being creative, and that's what has to happen. You just can't say, oh, man, the free agent crop this year doesn't suit our needs or our wants. It's like there's ways of doing things. you look at what Colorado did this year and how creative they were in making that work and kind of rebooting their roster. Ultimately, it did not work, but they were pretty creative in how they went about their business.
Okay, last one, I promise. Brad Marchand.
I love Brad Marchand. I hate watching him play against the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I love Brad Marchand. But I don't know. I don't know if he was pumping the Leafs tires, saying they're not that bad of a team, leave them alone, because maybe he had in the future thoughts of him possibly coming here. But I don't know. That seems like a pretty far-fetched. I mean, you might as well bring him in, Jay. He's pumped the Leafs out of the playoffs 5 times. That was a board that was put together that was pretty scary to see. 5 different times he eliminated the Leafs. So if that's the case, why not bring him aboard for a couple years?
He seems to love the Toronto media, so maybe there is something there. Okay, Jeff, I've kept you long enough, but I do need to end this by clarifying something. You played at an NHLPA golf event at TPC Toronto on Thursday, the site of next week's Canadian Open. I have been told you shot a 64. Now, I want to get your reaction to the likes of Brian Hayes and James Duthie calling that score into question on Thursday, questioning your integrity. You've got the floor, my friend. Here we go.
I think it's quite disgusting that they would do that, because the reason that they've made these comments are, I shot 65 and a lawnmower ate my golf ball at the 6th hole at Weston, okay? So I watched the lawnmower eat my golf ball, so I'm like, I really believe that that's a drop, because what else am I supposed to do? I hit it 1 yard off the fairway, and the guy ran over my golf ball. Last time I checked, that's a free drop, and they seemed to think that it wasn't. But I had a great day today. I played with Carlo Koliakovo, who completely sewered me and lost us the tournament. I needed No, he did. I said to him, I said, Coco, with my handicap, I have to make a lot of birdies, and you have to make pars. On stroke holes, that means birdie for you. And he completely failed me out there today.
That's a tough one.
I don't know what else to say. Yeah. It's just like when you want a guy to just make a par, there's no way they'll ever do it. No way.
Listen, I 100% believe you that you crushed that 64. I feel like your game's only going to get better as the year goes on. I hope you have a terrific summer, and maybe we can chat around free agency, you know, a little bit more. But thanks for coming on, buddy. You're the best. Really appreciate it.
Jay, always great talking to you, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.